Magic spawned countless dungeons and demons. Two large, dragon-like monsters battle within a dark, rocky environment, with one launching a magical attack against the other. A jagged slash of white and cyan energy cuts through the darkness. The SSS-level Demon Lord Belphegor, a creature of 5 elements, erupts from the ground, towering over the landscape. Elias and his team of Awakeners stand before the colossal being, ready to fight. A glowing golden interface box displays the words, God's Legion. Elias stares forward with a stern expression, introducing himself as Elias Bai and stating he has led the squad for 10 years. A colossal, multi-eyed monster roars with its mouth open as smaller winged creatures hover in the surrounding glowing energy, explaining their job is to hunt down dungeons for the gods. Elias and Rowan wield their swords, confronting a colossal skeletal creature amidst powerful energy discharges as Elias orders God's Legion to move out, declaring this is their 100th high-level dungeon. The God's Legion assassin Orion Ang, an L-rank lightning shadow dancer, confirms her orders and charges forward, enveloped in lightning as a shadowy figure watches from the background. Rowan looks forward with glowing red eyes and a slight smirk, calling out for her captain. They call the mission an L-rank extermination mission. Elias casts his spell, Glacial World, unleashing a wave of magic that transforms the surrounding area into a frozen, icy landscape. L-rank is stated to be the toughest classification. A figure in the sky points a sword downwards, firing a massive yellow beam of energy. The beam crashes into the rocky landscape below as Elias and Rowan watch the destruction from a distance. A voice mentions that they will get to take a vacation after the job is finished. Elias activates his skill, Starfall, Gravity Pull, its power massively boosted by a support buff. The gravity multiplies 100 times, violently slamming Rowan downwards and crushing him against the ground with overwhelming force. Rowan's body collapses under the extreme gravity and erupts in a massive explosion of yellow energy, the shockwave throwing Elias back while a smaller figure is flung violently upwards by the blast. Elias stands firm as he is engulfed by towering, explosive golden energy. Elias's eyes glow an intense yellow as a golden aura radiates from his body. Elias stands firm amidst an overwhelming surge of destructive golden energy and debris. Elias's yellow eyes glow as a prominent status window identifies him as God's Legion, Captain Elias Bai, an L-rank nuclear swordsman. Elias stands confidently with his team amidst swirling energy, having just terminated the SSS rank Demon Lord Belphegor. Elias stretches his arms and complains that the fight ended too quickly and was no fun, promising to take everyone dungeon hopping later as a dark-haired woman beside him smiles confidently. Elias listens with focused golden eyes as a shadowy, hooded figure reveals their mission has the highest possible rating, requiring the deployment of their entire team. Elias and Rowan walk across a barren, glowing landscape littered with the bodies of defeated serpentine creatures, as Rowan asks Elias if the mission feels too easy. Elias stands with glowing yellow eyes, holding his sword as he recalls intel stating the Demon Lord has 5 elements and a hidden skill. Elias turns his head to the right with a stern expression, shouting for the captain as glowing yellow particles begin to surround him. A smirking woman holds Elias tightly against her chest, his eyes wide with distress. The system analysis fails, displaying corrupted data and critical error messages. Elias grips Rowan's face with one hand, causing them to show distress and pain from the forceful hold. A woman leans in for a sneak kiss on Elias, who recoils from the attempt. She exclaims that her kiss failed again while a small chibi figure calls him clueless about women. Elias's yellow eyes glow intensely as a subtle aura emanates from his body. Elias stands in a desolate, glowing landscape and looks to the side as unseen figures question a man's absence, noting he missed the Belphegor fight. Elias, a confident woman, and a hooded figure make dismissive comments about someone always dragging their feet, calling him the king of phoning it in. Elias looms over 4 silhouetted figures standing on a desolate, glowing landscape, his hair radiating a powerful light. Elias raises his gloved hand, emitting swirling green energy as a system message for an extermination mission appears. Elias is half shrouded in shadow, his body emanating a glowing green energy. Elias points his gloved hand upwards, releasing swirling green energy into the dark, stormy sky as he says, "Initiated." Rowan lands a series of brutal, high-speed strikes on Elias. Elias staggers backward, unable to defend against the overwhelming assault. Rowan drives a final, glowing blow directly into him. Elias's face contorts with rage, while Rowan stares in complete shock as a hooded figure stands in the intense light, their eyes glowing green. Elias collapses to the ground, gravely wounded and bloody, as glowing green energy surrounds his body. An open magical book and a shattered pyramid artifact lie beside him. They declare this to be their real mission from God. Elias clenches his jaw in strain as green energy crackles around his upper body. Elias strains against the green energy enveloping him, unable to move his body or lift his large sword. Elias's eyes widen in shock at the confession as a green, glowing, root-like entity smashes downward below him. The god's skill, Flower Forbidden Entanglement, activates, causing vast, gnarled tree roots and vines to glow with green energy as they entwine the dark space. Elias stands with his back turned, observing three shadowy figures ensnared by glowing green vines across the barren landscape. Elias and Rowan are restrained by glowing vines, unable to move. A system notification appears, stating the effect renders targets unconscious and strips all defenses. Rowan stands cloaked and masked, extending his hand as green magical energy gathers around his palm, and he reveals the L-rank extermination mission was always about killing his target. A woman is bound by glowing green energy tendrils as she screams the names Orion and Lucian, while the hooded figure stands over her. Elias stands in his red cloak as a green force propels two bound individuals through the air. Elias screams in pain as a thick, vine-like appendage tightly constricts his body, spraying blood from his injuries. Elias's pupil burns red while crimson energy surges from his eye. Elias grits his teeth in agony as a glowing impact hits him, splattering blood from his mouth and chest. Rowan stares forward as glowing, green, thorny vines ensnare multiple people in the dark forest, questioning why this is happening. Elias screams in a furious rage, his eyes wide as he demands to know why God's legion is being wiped out and which god gave the order. Elias screams, his face contorting with intense fury and frustration as he demands to know what gives them the right to do this. Elias kneels on the ground in distress as Rowan stands over him, manipulating green vines that ensnare another person. Rowan calls the captain pathetically naive. Elias is tightly bound by numerous brown, root-like tentacles that drag him backwards. Blood erupts from a violent impact, splattering across a dark surface as a white light flares. Elias lies entangled in dark tendrils, severely wounded and covered in blood as green energy radiates from the impact. Elias's arm is torn from his body, splattering blood across the background as the masked Rowan observes. Rowan glares with glowing red eyes as blood drips from his mouth, desperately questioning his companion about their 10 years together as brothers in arms and asking if that makes them family. Elias strikes Rowan with a shadowy blow, causing blood to splatter as he questions Rowan's naive talk of being brothers in arms and family, asking if he truly understands why this betrayal is happening. Elias stares forward with intense focus, his face drenched in sweat as a warm glow radiates from behind him. Elias stands over the fallen Rowan, whose chest is pierced completely through, and declares that they were always just pawns. Rowan lies on the ground bleeding from a chest wound while Elias crouches over him, questioning him about earning his trust. Elias thrusts a finger forward, his dreadlocked figure a dark silhouette against a shimmering background. Elias lies wounded on the ground, bleeding from the mouth and looking up in pain as Rowan extends a glowing hand toward him. Elias stands motionless as a violent impact causes blood to splatter across the ground at his feet. Elias and Rowan lie bloodied and incapacitated on the ground amidst the bodies of their comrades as a system message declares the L-rank extermination mission complete on May 22, 2025. Elias, a dark figure with flowing white hair and glowing eyes, descends through an ethereal void and declares it is time for that vacation. Elias stares forward in shock as blood splatters from a grievous wound centered on his forehead. Elias lies on the ground, defeated and severely injured, as glowing green thorny vines wrap around his body, his hand bloodied. A voice proposes a deal from the darkness. Elias stares forward with intense determination, his eyes glowing with an internal power. Elias looks around disoriented, his body entangled by heavy chains inside a dark space filled with glowing purple particles. Elias is heavily bound by glowing dark chains inside a stark void, the restraints wrapping around his body as purple energy emanates from his right arm and shoulder. Rowan smirks confidently with his arms crossed, his purple eyes glowing as dark energy swirls around him. Elias stares forward with wide, intense eyes as heavy dark chains partially bind him, a glowing spectral hand of energy manifesting in the darkness. Elias stands over a chained figure, generating multicolored magical flames with a smug expression. He questions if Belphegor truly survived, scoffing at the idea that an SSS-rank demon lord could be defeated so easily. Rowan hovers, radiating potent purple and blue magic with a confident, sinister grin, and declares this is his soul realm where the entire Nigh Kingdom is his life force. Elias, partially bound by chains, confronts his opponent with glowing yellow eyes, telling them to skip the small talk because he can feel their shared hatred. A colossal, shadowy dragon with glowing features looms over Rowan and Elias. A powerful energy erupts from Rowan, manifesting as glowing chains that swirl around him. He announces his hidden skill is life regression. Elias, partially obscured by chains and surrounded by glowing purple particles, holds up a hand to display a prominent ring while explaining it can send someone back into the past to fix everything. Elias is engulfed in dark, crackling energy, his eyes glowing white as he smirks and asks, "I interested?" Elias stares intently forward, his golden eyes fixed on an unseen target against the dark, shimmering backdrop. Rowan smirks confidently, her red eyes gleaming, as Elias's intense yellow eye reacts below. A young Elias smiles while holding a book, his expression replaced by an intense stare from his yellow eye. A hooded figure smokes. Elias, a white-haired man with a large sword, laughs triumphantly alongside another hooded figure as a single eye glares back in defiance. A shadowy figure bursts through a cloud of debris, its red eyes glowing as it reveals a wide grin. Elias and Rowan are violently struck down, blood spraying from their critical wounds as Elias collapses, defeated on the ground. Elias screams in pure rage, unleashing a torrent of purple energy that shatters the thick chains binding him. Elias stands illuminated from below, shouting defiantly at the towering dark silhouettes looming over him. Elias's upper face is cast in shadow as he lets out a smug scoff, revealing a wide and confident toothy grin. Rowan grins as his eyes begin to glow, a dark aura of power enveloping his body. Rowan offers Elias a pulsating, multicolored glowing heart, extending it toward his purple energy-enveloped hand and calling it a signing bonus. Elias stares forward with glowing yellow eyes as he holds a pulsating reddish mass, squeezing the organic material between his hands. Elias's eyes glow a deep purple as he forms a sinister smile, a dark aura enveloping his body while he lets out a quiet laugh. An unseen voice shouts Elias's name, telling him to wake up. Elias's intense golden eyes glow with power, one partially cast in shadow. Rowan, a stern woman with dark hair, stands inside the Awakener Academy of J-Country in the year 2005 and demands Elias get up. Elias stares into a blinding light, his golden eye wide with the shocking realization that he is truly back. Elias gasps and looks down at his outstretched hands, which are bathed in a soft, warm light. Elias clutches his chest in shock, his yellow eyes wide as he realizes he has returned to a time before his awakening. Rowan glares furiously, her mouth open as she shouts at Elias for his behavior in class. Elias sits at his classroom desk with wide eyes and urgently shouts for Ms. Huang. Elias gasps in horror and clutches his mouth, realizing he has returned to his time in middle school. Elias sits in a classroom, overwhelmed by the sudden realization that he has been reborn. He internally questions if this is Belphegor's doing, struggling to believe the insane situation. He looks around at the other students, recognizing them as kids he has not seen in 20 years. Elias slams his foot down on a desk, demanding the class get back to the lesson. Rowan explains the 5 elemental forces of the world as distinct glowing symbols representing lightning, flower, cloud, nuclear, and stellar manifest around her profile. Elias looks to the side with a serious expression and states that each person can only wield one. Rowan manipulates a glowing crystalline object surrounded by blue energy, declaring she has the rarest one called Cloud. Rowan explains that elemental bonding creates one of 3 types: combat, utility, or special, and that these types combine with the 5 elements to form the world's many different classes. 5 silhouetted figures represent the school's top guild squad, a team composed of a stellar mage, a cloud warrior, a nuclear chanter, and a lightning assassin. Glowing runes and fiery wolf-like creatures surround the group. Elias stands on a platform in front of a classroom of students and delivers an assertive speech, telling them they were chosen from billions of people. He explains their awakening potential makes them different and that they are living their best years. Rowan stands before the students and announces that today changes everything, explaining the existence of nearly 100 awakening classes ranked by rarity: green, blue, red, and gold. Rowan speaks with a wide, intense smirk as a glowing, segmented triangle symbol appears behind her. Elias sits at a classroom desk, his expression wide-eyed and serious as he speaks with urgency while Rowan and other students remain blurred in the background. Elias sits in the classroom, watching the teacher at the front of the room as she explains what the students will awaken as that afternoon. Elias stands front-facing with his hands in his pockets, his expression serious as a stark light partially illuminates his white hair and yellow eyes. A large, multi-story building borders a spacious courtyard where several small figures are scattered below, and a tree stands in the foreground. Elias stands with his hands in his pockets, looking over his shoulder at the shadowy figures among the trees, reflecting that this is where it all started for him. Rowan holds a distressed Elias by the collar in the hallway and calls him 4 Eyes. Elias clicks his tongue in irritation, turning his head slightly to glare over his shoulder. Elias and two others stand over a boy lying defeated on the ground, looking down at him with smug expressions as one of them calls him a loser who needs extra things to awaken. Elias grabs Rowan's armored leg, his powerful grip cracking the dark floor from the force of the impact. Magnus Hong's eyes glow red as he grins, a potent red aura flaring around his body. A holographic status box identifies him as Magnus Hong, an E-rank stellar assassin with a background listed as unknown. He declares his opponents are just cannon fodder against a red-tier Awakener like him. Elias smirks down at Rowan, who kneels before him holding a stack of items and stuttering an apology. Elias looks forward, recalling a man from his past life who was always starting trouble. Elias watches from a distance as a blonde-haired man holds a phone and stands over an intimidated student on the ground, thinking the man is a total troublemaker with aggro genes. Rowan confronts Elias with a stern expression, telling him to knock it off. He glares back at her angrily while holding a pink cloth. Rowan glares, her face partially obscured by shadow as she stands in front of the school building, and she demands to know if they are shaking down kids on school property. Elias smirks while holding crumpled cash, loudly accusing the person in front of him of bumping into them and hurting his crew. Elias smirks while stretching a pink, stringy material between his hands, asking if buying each of his boys a milk tea is too much to ask. Elias grins aggressively at Rowan, surrounded by purple energy as he mocks her for defending her students, telling her she only has a job because she's easy on the eyes. A woman kneels beside a man on the ground as Elias stands over them, laughing loudly. He tells Rowan that out of respect for their teacher, they will let the matter go this time. Elias confronts a figure whose back is turned to him. His yellow eyes stare with intensity as a large eye watches them from above. Elias forcefully grabs Rowan's shoulder and demands to know what he is staring at. A group of 3 men confronts Elias, shoving him backward on the sidewalk and telling him to move. Elias stands alone. A dark-haired woman thinks to herself that Ms. Huang talks tough but has a good heart, recalling how much she helped her after she awakened. Elias watches a group of students walk toward a building as an announcer calls for Ms. Huang's class to enter the awakening chamber. Rowan addresses the group with a serious expression, telling them to listen up and keep their heads straight once inside to avoid getting hurt. Elias, a young man with white hair and yellow eyes, stands calmly in a schoolyard surrounded by other students and looks ahead. Elias looks to the side, realizing this is a natural awakening, just like Magnus's. Elias screams as swirling purple energy erupts and engulfs his entire body. Elias steps forward, his glowing foot touching down on a dark, sparkling surface. Elias stands in a dark space, enveloped by swirling multicolored energy as he looks down intently at a bright, glowing white cube. Elias screams as multicolored energy swirls intensely through his body, his emotions and adrenaline overwhelming him. Elias transforms, surrounded by swirling multicolored energy and glowing white fragments. Elias is enveloped in bright blue energy as a system window displays the words "Nuclear Mage," and he explains the catch is that you only get one random shot. Elias laughs triumphantly, shouting that he achieved blue tier. Rowan smiles and congratulates him, telling him to take a well-earned breather. Elias stands facing left, lost in thought, as Rowan urgently shouts his name from behind him. Elias stands confidently in the hallway, his yellow eyes glowing as he looks forward at his opponent, while 3 shadowy figures wait behind him. A stern woman with purple hair lectures Elias in a hallway, telling him to focus and stop spacing out like he does in class. Elias looks forward with determination, his eyes glowing yellow as he states he understands. Elias reflects on his past life as a weak E-rank nuclear warrior, visualized as a green aura, and remembers being constantly defeated before later unlocking his S-rank form, which now radiates a powerful golden energy around him. Elias stands with his back turned, surrounded by swirling multicolored energy and floating objects, wondering what nuclear element he will receive this time. Elias strains as he is enveloped by swirling green energy and glowing leaf-like forms, his intense yellow eyes glowing. Elias's face is tense, his golden eye wide with anxiety as a drop of sweat trickles down his temple. A glowing digital panel displays a critical message warning of an awakening system malfunction. Elias reacts with wide-eyed shock and an open mouth as glowing elemental energy surrounds him, a system message appearing that announces the detection of 5 elements. Elias looks down at his own body in shock as a fiery aura erupts from him, his yellow eyes glowing intensely as he questions why he's burning up. Elias's eye glows with intense light and glitches as a system notification appears in his vision, stating "Infinite Awakening System Online." Elias looks up in surprise as golden energy swirls around his body, while a system notification appears before him, detecting the 5 elements. Elias's eyes glow yellow as he stares in shock, feeling his body burn as brilliant light energy surges out from him. Elias's eye glitches and glows as a system message announces the Infinite Awakening system is online. Elias stands within a complex, glowing holographic interface displaying elemental statistics as a system voice explains he has all 5 elements, allowing him to pick any element in class to start with. Rowan stands with his back turned, observing a glowing holographic interface that displays his progress with different elements, learning he can unlock a new random class or level up his current one after building up enough of a single element. Elias looks upward, his eyes wide in shock as energy radiates around him, and he shouts in disbelief. Element accumulation? Elias stands as a glowing figure in a dark void, looking up at a tall, illuminated panel filled with text as golden particles float around him, and he realizes he can choose his element and class immediately, with the potential to unlock more later on. Elias watches as glowing class cards materialize before him, representing every tier from green and blue to red and gold, and he is stunned to realize even ultra-rare special classes are available. A message explains that a player can only pick their starter, as everything after that is random. Rowan smirks subtly and extends his hand, presenting 5 distinct glowing magical symbols that swirl in a vortex of white energy. Elias extends his glowing hand towards a dark figure radiating multicolored energy, realizing this is the signing bonus. Elias stands with glowing yellow eyes as a maelstrom of multicolored elemental energy swirls around him, and he declares his infinite awakening. Elias focuses as multicolored elemental energies swirl around his hands, while a system warning appears above him stating that selecting a starting class will reset all his element meters. Elias presents swirling, multicolored energies from his fingertips, his yellow eyes glowing as he tells them to choose wisely. Rowan stands with Elias among several shadowy figures, turning his head to impatiently ask what is taking so long. A young man with light hair steps out from a dark rectangular opening. Elias and Rowan watch him from the foreground, one of them shouting that he is finally out. Rowan smiles eagerly and asks Elias what he got. Elias stands against a brick wall with his eyes closed, saying he is sorry to disappoint. Elias stands with his hands in his pockets, enveloped by a green aura as his eyes glow. He announces he received the Nuclear Warrior ability, a rock-bottom green tier. Rowan looks off-panel with a calm and discerning expression. Rowan smiles and places her hand on Elias's shoulder, telling him not to lose hope because the world rewards those who try. A woman places her hand on the shoulder of a distressed Elias. A smiling woman with long purple hair places her hands on the shoulders of an exhausted Elias. Elias looks intensely annoyed as an unseen person's hand rests on his shoulder. A stern woman places a hand on Elias's shoulder, causing him to look away in annoyance as another man smirks while holding a drink and watching them. Rowan glares forward with intense red eyes, shouting at Teach that he knows better. Elias points his finger forward and shouts while 2 other men stand nearby and watch him. Elias smirks while aggressively confronting the white-haired man, shouting that being a green tier makes him a nobody. Rowan smirks while delivering his cynical statement. Elias listens with a shocked expression that quickly hardens into resolve as his eyes begin to glow. A blonde-haired man confronts Elias and yells, calling him a green-tier scrub doomed to be an errand boy forever as a purple-haired woman looks on with annoyance. Elias smirks while holding a drink, looking up at the shadowed figures of students seated at their desks. He declares that reality means those without power or backing have no future and are left behind by so-called fairness. Elias stands silhouetted in a classroom, his form outlined by a green aura, while other students behind him radiate auras of varying colors and intensities. Elias looks down and to the side with a mocking smirk, asking if his opponent truly believes the garbage that hard work can change fate or green can become a genius. Rowan looks back over her shoulder with a stern expression, telling him that his future is already set in stone from the moment he was born. Elias smirks at the stern-faced woman, taunting her about being a blue tier. He tells her to go teach school and collect a government check, calling her deadweight. A man with an eye patch mocks him for being a green tier wasting taxpayer money, and Elias's hand crushes a red cup. Elias slams his fist into Rowan's chest, the impact traveling up his body to distort and shatter his face. Elias's face contorts in agony, covered and dripping with a dark, viscous substance. Elias grimaces in pain and sweats heavily, yelling at Rowan to ask what he is doing. Elias struggles against an unseen grip on his throat, his eyes wide with distress as he defiantly says, "Your voice is annoying." Elias stares sideways with a wide, manic grin, his face sweaty and disheveled as he lets out a triumphant laugh. Elias, engulfed in purple and golden energy, unleashes a boosted stellar strike and delivers powerful blows against a completely overwhelmed Rowan. Elias's eyes glow a bright gold as a streak of energy illuminates his face, showing his power has been activated. Elias, wreathed in golden light, uses a glowing shield to block Rowan's powerful attack, causing them to clash. Elias grins manically with wide, intense eyes, his teeth gritted as a glowing aura envelops him amidst floating debris. Elias grits his teeth in shock, his eyes wide with strain as a glowing energy emanates from his right side. Elias parries the attack and stands over his fallen opponent, surrounded by golden energy as the other man emits a purple aura from the ground. Elias fires an energy blast from a device in his hand, striking a figure and throwing them backward as shadowy enemies approach in the background. Elias glows with power and unleashes a wide energy attack across the street, knocking an opponent to the ground while Rowan observes from a kneeling position. Elias recoils violently from the impact, blood splattering from his mouth and torso. Elias stares forward with wide, pained eyes, blood smeared across his mouth and nose. Elias stands in a tree-lined area, a powerful golden aura emanating from his body while he holds a sword that glows with the same light. Elias stands in the forest, his body emanating a golden aura while his yellow eyes glow intensely as he stares forward. The crowd of young men stares in disbelief, their mouths hanging open in utter shock and confusion. Elias firmly grips his golden sword, its blade glowing with an intense aura. Elias stands confidently in a golden aura, holding a new glowing sword as a green status window displays its stats. Green basic light sword, plus 20 attack, plus 20 dodge. Elias smirks confidently, his yellow eyes glowing as a golden energy radiates from his body. Elias laughs, a purple aura flaring around him as he taunts his opponent about their single lucky dodge. Elias crouches in an aggressive stance, his body wreathed in a purple aura, and yells with a face contorted in anger that he is a rare red tier class and nothing like the garbage in front of him. Elias holds a glowing golden sword. Rowan looks at him with a surprised expression, realizing his previous move was intentional and not luck. In the background, another man is surrounded by purple electrical energy. Elias executes an advanced parry technique, deflecting the attack with a wave of golden energy as Rowan stares in wide-eyed disbelief. Elias looks intently forward while holding a glowing golden object, streaks of energy surrounding his body. Elias's eyes glow purple as he flashes a wide, menacing grin, brandishing a dagger that radiates with the same energy. An enraged opponent screams at Elias, calling him trash and vowing to make him grovel. Elias stands calmly, emanating a golden aura and holding a glowing energy blade. Elias stands with a serious expression as a glowing yellow aura envelops him, stating he chose what looks like the weakest class for a good reason. Elias raises a glowing sword and then stands confidently as a golden aura flares around him, declaring that judging someone by their birth is a fatal mistake his opponents will realize too late. The block skill is a weapon defense that blocks over 50% of damage depending on timing, while the parry skill negates 100% of damage with perfect timing and provides a chance to reflect all physical damage if triggered again within 0.9 seconds. Elias and Rowan clash in mid-air, locked in a struggle as purple and golden energies erupt from them. Rowan stands calmly with a glowing energy sword in his hand, as the other students around him react with shock and alarm to his awakened powers being used on campus. Elias grins confidently, holding a small blade as purple energy swirls around him. Elias looks at Rowan with a panicked expression, talking animatedly and warning him that if their target takes the bait, he will be expelled for fighting back. He then frantically asks Rowan what they should do. Rowan stares forward with a pensive expression, her mouth slightly agape. A woman steps between Elias and Rowan, attempting to mediate their tense confrontation. Rowan grips a glowing sword, facing off against Elias. The woman raises her hands and tells them they all just awakened today and could become teammates, pleading with them not to do anything rash. Rowan restrains Elias, holding him back as he lunges forward with a dagger. Elias shouts in fury, struggling against Rowan's grip. Elias grins malevolently, wielding a glowing blade as a powerful purple energy surges around his body. Elias's face twists in rage, his eye glaring with contempt as he screams about the difference between the chosen and bottom-tier trash. A woman with a concerned expression explains that the massive difference in power between quality tiers is because of stat multipliers, while a calm Elias stands beside her holding a glowing sword. Elias stands surrounded by green energy as a system window appears before him, displaying his status as Elias Bai, level 1, E rank, with the class Nuclear Warrior, and his attributes are listed as Strength 53, Speed 41, Stamina 61, Luck 26, Elemental 8, and Mental 11, along with the skills Block and Dash, while a note explains that the green quality's 100% multiplier leaves his base stats unchanged. Rowan is enveloped in a glowing blue aura, her expression serious as she explains that blue quality for the same class gets 150%. Magnus Hong lunges forward with a dagger, glowing with red energy as a stat window reveals his class as Stellar Assassin and a 200% multiplier on all his attributes. Elias looms over his opponent, shrouded in a powerful red aura and holding a dagger, while he explains the permanent power gap between red tier and green tier classes. The white-haired man stands confidently holding a glowing golden sword while a man in glasses watches with a shocked expression, thinking Elias is completely screwed and getting crushed by his opponent's raw power and family connections. Elias rubs his temple, his expression a mixture of weariness and frustration as he speaks. Elias looks down sternly at Rowan, who cowers on the ground as shadowy, menacing entities with glowing red eyes surround him. Elias stands over Rowan, pinning him to the floor with one foot. Elias looks down, his face bruised and expression somber. He holds out his hands to receive a small object from Rowan. Elias looks down with a somber expression, thinking that survival means bending instead of fighting head-on. Elias activates his Berserk skill, his blades glowing as purple energy radiates from his body, increasing his strength, CRIT, and lifesteal. Rowan shouts a warning to him from below. The shadowy figure slams a purple energy-imbued strike downwards, and Rowan struggles to parry the blow with his glowing golden sword, straining under the overwhelming force. Elias unleashes a massive wave of purple energy, blasting it towards Rowan, who stands with his back turned. Elias smirks confidently, a golden aura glowing around him as he questions if his opponent will dodge. Elias smirks confidently, surrounded by purple energy as he activates his dash skill while Rowan is engulfed in bright orange energy from an impact. He states he doesn't need to dodge, explaining his skill massively boosts his speed by over 50%. Elias is surrounded by glowing energy as a system notification appears before him, describing his new Blinks ability, which triggers instant teleportation when his dash skill reaches a 100% boost and allows him to phase through obstacles. Elias stares in shock and frustration as Rowan turns his back and walks away into the bright background. Elias's eyes narrow with rage as the scene cuts to Rowan, who stands severely injured and bleeding black. He generates a golden energy shield and screams for someone to get behind him. Elias stands over his beaten opponent, who grovels and bleeds on the ground. He calls the man trash as several onlookers watch the scene. Elias stands over Rowan with a smug expression as Rowan lies collapsed on the ground, coughing violently while surrounded by a dark substance. Magnus lies injured and bloody on the paved path, his sword resting beside him as confused onlookers gather and question how he fell. Elias covers his mouth to stifle a laugh while Rowan stares blankly in confusion. Rowan observes Elias's back with a pensive expression. Elias triggers the advanced warrior skill, Blink, an instant teleportation that activates when his dash skill hits a 100% boost. He leaves multiple glowing afterimages in his wake, phasing through obstacles as he moves. Elias stands calmly with his back to the viewer, looking down at his opponent crumpled and bleeding on the ground as onlookers react with complete shock. Scarlet Chi stands with her arms crossed, her expression serious as she thinks. She considers that Elias has mastered the highest level of warrior fundamentals, applying them in combat as if it were second nature, and realizes in that single instant he even made sure of something else. Elias stands confidently in the center of the arena, looking down at his defeated opponent on the ground as figures observe from the surrounding darkness. Elias stands surrounded by glowing system notifications detailing his recent gains. He reads the windows, which show he earned 50 class EXP and 50 stellar element points for defeating the E-rank enemy. He confirms his theory that using class skills in combat racks up experience while defeating elemental enemies provides element points. Elias stands with a serious expression, internally dismissing his 50 points as pathetic. He resolves to start grinding dungeons as much as he can, recalling that he chose the Nuclear Warrior class for its unique perks and overpowered skills after advancement. Elias reinforces his determination to level up and advance way faster than he did the last time. Elias is on his hands and knees, grimacing in pain as he struggles to move. Rowan looms over him, yelling for Elias to rise and shouting that he is not getting away. Elias's hand grips the hilt of his sword tightly above blood-spattered ground. Elias appears behind Rowan with a sword, his body crackling with purple energy as he screams that he will kill him. Elias, enraged, grips the hilt of his weapon and shouts that it is enough. Rowan Hong, the Awakener Academy Middle School Dean, stands in a suit with a stern expression and looks down, asking if they have humiliated themselves enough for the day. Elias watches someone off-panel with a pensive expression as a startled Rowan stands beside him, holding a sword and calling out to his uncle about the man. The disciplinary dean addresses the gathered students, telling them they are exhausted from their awakening. He orders them to stop gawking and to go home and rest for the weekend. A man in a suit addresses a group of students in an outdoor setting, instructing them to tell their families about their awakened class. Elias and Rowan stand in the foreground listening as a notification appears before them. Elias stares forward with a serious expression, his intense golden eyes glowing as a bright aura crackles around him. Rowan grips Elias by the head and begins to shout at him. Elias looks up with wide, disoriented eyes, interrupting Rowan to explain that he was just reborn and is still out of it. Elias looks intently as a realization dawns on him. He is 20 years in the past, meaning everyone is still alive, and he remembers that something else happened on Awakening Day, May 22, 2005. Rowan clutches his head in distress, his eyes wide as he realizes he forgot the most important thing, while Elias stands sternly behind him. Elias lunges forward aggressively, slamming into a low stance as the person behind him shouts out in surprise. Elias looks intently at Rowan, who appears surprised with wide eyes and remains silent. A furious man points at Rowan and reprimands her about a runaway student, telling her he will let it slide just this once. Rowan bows deeply and apologizes for the incident. Elias stands at a desk with scratches on his face, clenching his fists and shirt in a rage as he internally fumes that he only lost his previous fight because his opponent got lucky. Elias leans over Rowan's desk, shouting at him with a look of angry disbelief. Elias reacts with concern, shouting at the attacker who was just repelled by a burst of purple energy as Rowan observes calmly. Elias lands a surgically precise strike on Rowan, shattering his defense and causing him to recoil from the powerful impact. Elias addresses Rowan, who sits on the counter, and states that his entire combo was just basic warrior skills, admitting that even after 15 years of combat, he could not execute it so cleanly. Elias stands holding his glowing sword over a defeated Rowan, who kneels in a pool of dark fluid. Elias sprints at full speed down the city street. Elias rushes forward with glowing yellow eyes, his face set in determination as he considers what he absolutely must do after being reborn besides getting revenge. Elias slams his foot down, a glowing grid pattern flaring across his leg as the ground cracks from the forceful impact. Elias stands in the city panting heavily as his eyes widen with distressed realization. Elias is engulfed in red energy amidst blood-splattered debris. Rowan clutches his injured arm, panting heavily as he backs away. Elias stares forward with a strained expression, his face covered in shadow and sweat. A status window displays Elias Bai's information, showing he is a level 1, E-rank nuclear warrior with skills in block and dash. His attributes are 53 strength, 41 speed, 61 stamina, 26 luck, 8 elemental, and 11 mental. A system window details the dash skill, explaining it massively boosts speed by over 50% for a brief period, and scales with reaction time and skill mastery, while the blink skill triggers instant teleportation and allows phasing through obstacles when dash hits a 100% boost. A red system window displays Magnus Hong's information, showing he's a level 1 E rank with the class Stellar Assassin. His attributes have a 200% multiplier, listing strength at 62, speed at 75, stamina at 22, luck at 21, elemental at 10, and mental at 10. He possesses the skills Backstab and Berserk,